Today I'm trying something completely different. It's got 2 wheels, 1 deck, and no handlebars. This is the 2Swift board. You can think of it as a 2-wheeled electric skateboard with really big wheels, or an electric scooter that you can ride hands-free. But either way, it's one of the most unusual PEVs we've ever tested. We're the only ones who have it, and this is the world premiere review. The 2Swift board is the first product from a new PEV company called 2Swift, whose founders Andrew, Mo, and Dan discovered there just wasn't much available in the way of 2-wheeled boards and decided to change that. It's got a 544 watt-hour battery, which is basically the same capacity as a 9-bot Max, but this one's made from Molicel brand battery cells, and we'll get into that later, but these are so high-end we've never seen a scooter that's used them before. It's got 500 watts of power from the rear motor, which feels like it's tuned more for speed than for torque, and as you can guess from looking at it, it's very light and portable. To date, we've weighed 117 scooters, and at 30.6 pounds, this is lighter than 90% of the scooters in our database. The ride quality is unlike anything we've tried, but maybe the coolest part is you probably already know how to ride one. That was a huge surprise for me. On my first try, I just stepped on the front of the board with my foot facing sideways, shoved off, eased into the throttle, and I was riding. The hardest part is learning to lean forward as you apply more throttle and lean back as you apply more brake, so you stay balanced front to back, but you pick it up pretty quickly. The board has 3 speed modes, low, medium, and high, so starting off in low makes it pretty easy to get used to. Coming from kick scooters, it was a little intimidating at first to have nothing to hold on to, but it didn't take long before I got used to it and it started feeling natural. Turning feels like somewhere between riding a skateboard and riding a bicycle no-handed. You can lean your body, lean your feet, or both. And the unique front wheel mount and steering head angle are designed to pivot left or right with your weight. At speed, the gyro effect keeps the front end stable, and at lower speeds, it lets you carve sharper corners, though I'm still working on those myself. It has a high-end adjustable steering damper built in to prevent any wobble at speed. I took it to top speed a few times and it felt surprisingly stable. In fact, it was so stable that when somebody tried to scooter jack me by shoving me off the scooter, I didn't fall. Riding the 2Swift board will also rapidly improve your skills riding regular electric kick scooters, and here's why. It teaches you to perfectly balance yourself from front to back using only your stance, and how to steer with your feet and not your handlebars. These are the 2 key elements of carving the best corners on an e-scooter. It's strangely fun having the freedom of having 1.5 hands free. I say 1.5 because one of your hands is free, but it's holding the controller. The 2Swift board is set up in 0 start, so the initial kick is just to help you get your balance started, and then you can add throttle whenever you want. You do that by rolling this wheel on the remote forward, and then when you want to slow down, you roll it back the other way. Starting from a complete stop is a bit trickier than with a kick scooter or an e-skate, but it gets easier as you get used to it. For me, the hardest thing was getting started up steep hills, but even after less than 1 hour of deck time with the 2Swift board, I was able to launch it up our 10% grade test hill. Another thing I had to get used to was how to handle potholes. On a kick scooter, I'll often just hop over them or lift up on the front end, but on a board, you have to make sure to go around. The good news is that unlike an e-skate, the much larger 9.5-inch diameter tires on the 2Swift mean that even when I hit a couple potholes head on, it just wasn't that bad. It took an hour or two to really get into the swing of things, and then I really started to get it. It feels really cool to be carving around with your hands free and absolutely nothing in front of you. It's like you're flying at low altitude. This feels weird to say, but the build quality of this board might be too good, mostly because it pushes the price up a little, but there was one component that actually does what it's supposed to do too well. First, let me circle back to the battery cells. We usually say that Samsung and LG cells are the very best you're gonna see in an electric scooter, and that's true. We've never seen better cells. Until now. These Molicel brand battery cells are so high-end that many people have never heard of them, and we've never tested a scooter that uses them. They're very expensive, very reliable, and very high performance, both in terms of battery life and fast charging. With the included 4-amp charger, you can fully charge the 2Swift board in just over 3 hours. That's less than half the typical charge time of most scooters in our database. Everywhere you look, the components are super high-end. I mentioned the steering damper, but it also has ultra-strong chromoly tubing at the front, a CNC machined wooden deck, aircraft grade aluminum in the frame, tubeless tires, which look an awful lot like the ones used on the 9 Max, and even the grip tape is brand name. The Jessup brand grip tape was so grippy, I actually found that it made it difficult to reposition my foot without lifting it completely off the board. But over time, I expect the grip tape will break in and lose its absurdly high level of grip. Of course, since there aren't handlebars, there's no display in front of you while riding, but the remote will tell you your current speed and what speed mode you're in, as well as the current state of the charge of the board and the remote itself. If you like to ride at night, you'll need to bring your own lights because the 2Swift board doesn't have any, other than the nice green glow surrounding the on switch. It is something they're working on for future models though. It also doesn't have any fenders, so watch out for bad weather and watch where you plant your rear foot or you could get a rub mark on your shoe. There's no official IP rating, but the makers say it should do okay with light splashes of water, which is similar to what we say about most scooters. And if no fenders is a deal breaker for you, they're working on adding those to future models as well. Maybe the most surprising detail about the build is where the 2Swift board is made, and that would be Cleveland, which of course is in Ohio, which of course means this is made in the United States. Very few PEVs are made here, and really the only ones I could think of off the top of my head are Ryan and the Hollyburn scooters, but let me know in the comments if you can think of any others. Currently, the 2Swift is $17.99, but you'll save $100 by getting in early, and they expect to start shipping in April. Initially, they're just shipping to the United States, but they expect to expand to international markets soon. Check this video's description for more information and a link that supports the work it takes to make videos like this. Something else I really like is that even though they haven't started shipping yet, they already have spare parts listed on their website and at reasonable prices. This is such an important detail, but it's one that's often overlooked in any product launch. The claimed top speed is 24 miles per hour, and it's legit. I hit 24.3 miles per hour on flat ground and probably could have gone a touch faster if I were brave enough to crouch down. That's fast relative to most lightweight scooters. Almost 6 miles per hour faster than our tests of the 9 Max and 4.4 miles per hour faster than the Apollo Air. Claimed range is 16 to 21 miles, and while we didn't have time to do a complete range test, we estimate that the real world range should be close to 20 miles based on battery size, motor wattage, and acceleration numbers. Acceleration is similar to a 9 Max or Apollo Air, but it takes a little longer getting from 0 to 15 miles per hour, and that's actually a good thing. The reason is it's absolutely critical that boards like this have a smooth, predictable throttle to make it easy to lean into the acceleration and keep your balance. Hill climb was also a little slower than scooters of similar power for the same reason. You really want smooth throttle when launching uphill, but the good news is you won't end up walking it up the hill because it'll climb any hill you're likely to encounter. Like the throttle, braking from the regen-only rear brake is smooth and predictable and eases up a bit towards the end to help you stay on board. As a result, tested braking distances from 15 miles per hour were fairly long at 48.5 feet. But there's a twist here. The only time you really need an ultra short stopping distance is in an emergency stop, and since the 2Swift board doesn't have any handlebars, in an emergency it offers you another way out. If a car cuts you off and you're going less than 15 miles per hour, it's easy to just bail out if you need to. For all of the riding I did, I felt like the brakes were tuned right where I'd want them. At less than 31 pounds and with no stem to fold, the 2Swift board gets an A for portability, but there's a bonus. Unlike an e-skate, you don't even have to carry it. When you get where you're going, you just switch to tow mode. Pros of the 2Swift board include, it's easy to bring inside and easy to find a spot for it in your house or office. The cool factor of both the board and how you look while riding it are very high. It's super fun, and it's made from extremely high quality components. Cons include the cost of those high-end components add up and put the price of the 2Swift board up there with some of the higher end e-skates on the market. And it's not as easy to ride as a conventional e-skate or kick scooter. This is the first board we've tested at ESG, and since we like to compare with other PEVs with similar specs that we've hands-on tested, that means scooters. First up, the Apollo Air is at the other end of the spectrum in terms of being easy to ride, holds its own with excellent portability and famously good ride quality because of its front suspension. But the 2Swift board has a higher adrenaline factor and ultra high fun factor. The 9 Max is the benchmark for reliability and range in this price class, and in fact both are much less expensive than the 2Swift. But the 2Swift board is 11 pounds lighter and has a much higher top speed, should be about equal on range, and is way more exciting to ride. To me, the big advantage of the 2Swift board over an e-skate is that the big wheels work better on rough pavement, potholes, and off-road. The advantage over a conventional kick scooter is you get to ride hands-free. So who's it for? Well, you can probably figure out from looking at the 2Swift board that really enjoying this ride requires a higher skill level than an e-skate or a kick scooter. Just about anyone can make it go, but I think it's the kind of thing that as you put more time into it, it gives you even more fun in return. I've only had a few days with it and I've had a lot of fun, but just like with snowboarding, the 2Swift board has that cycle of improving riding skill, having more fun, improving riding skill, and having more fun that goes on for a while. So if you've already got a few scooters or skateboards and are looking for something really different and fun, or are just getting started in PEVs and want to play or commute on something that nobody else has, you should check this out. To find out where to see one in person or even test ride one, scroll down to the description of this video. 2Swift will be at all 7 Electrify Expo shows in the US this year. We've also got links to the 2Swift site, and using the links helps support this channel. I'm Paul, ride safe, have fun, and do me a favor, hit the like button on your way out, and chat me up in the comments.